welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, we're bringing you the highlights of part 3 of a special series we put together post the Leaders of Tomorrow Conclave and Awards 2018. First up, take a listen to the takeaways really from our chief guest, Amitabh Kant. While speaking to our assembled audience, he said that while SMEs are the backbone of the economy, they need to look at digitizing more and more. We're also bringing you highlights of 2 panel discussions we did. First up, on why and how and whether it's necessary for small businesses to list. And second, we're bringing you a panel on smart marketing. Take a listen.
Before I invite up our chief guest, well, I don't have much to say about him. We all know him really well. We already know the great stuff that he's done at the Niti Aayog by supporting the initiatives like Startup India, Make in India, Incredible India. He's always been an enthusiastic supporter of the SME and the startup space in India. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Niti Aayog, Mr. Amitabh Kant.
I'm delighted to be here. Let me first compliment the Times Network for this great initiative to work in partnership with the MSME sector of India, which is truly the heart and soul of India's manufacturing, exports, and of job creation. India is growing at about close to 7.5% per annum. Last quarter, we grew at about 8.2%. But our challenge really over a 3-decade period is to grow at 9 to 10% per annum year after year, for 3 decades or more, to lift a very, very young population above the poverty line. And this, to my mind, is the biggest transformation that is taking place across the world, that the population in India is getting younger and younger. While we need to create wealth, we need to grow at 9 to 10% per annum year after year, but we also need to create jobs. And I think the important thing about MSME is that they create jobs. And therefore, we need to build the right ecosystem. And without MSME, India can't grow at high rates. And without MSME, India can't create jobs. So the 2 imperatives of growth and job, both for India, which are critical for India, both come from MSME sector. I think first and foremost, Government of India's view is that over the years, last 70 years, we've made India extremely complex, very difficult, very complicated place to do business in. If you look at the last 3 years, 3.5, 4 years, what we've tried to do is to make India extremely easy and simple. So a lot of rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork have been knocked out year after year. For, we've tried consciously. India is the only country which has actually done away with 1,300 laws. We've done away with a lot of rules, regulation, procedures so that it becomes easier for MSME to do business in. And that's the reason why we have jumped up 42 positions in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. So first is Government of India taking a lot of initiatives. But a lot of action for MSME is not with the Government of India, it is with the state governments. So the state governments need to become easy and simple. So how do we, in a large country like India, which is bigger than 24 countries of Europe, how do we make a large country like India easy and simple? So one of the key things we did was that we listed down a number of outcomes and indicators, and we said we'll rank states on ease of doing business. And we started ranking. The first year we did this, Gujarat came number 1. But the very next year, there was such intense competition among states, huge competition, that Andhra and Telangana beat Gujarat. They beat Gujarat, and the third year, Telangana beat Andhra. So firstly, ease of doing business is very, very important to my mind. Second, I think the important thing to understand is that the future lies in digitization. And, it's very important since it's about leaders of tomorrow. And leaders, to my mind, all of you are leaders. You set the direction. And direction is about changing the status quo. And you must digitize. And this is really the future. If you look at the government itself, the government has digitized in a very big way. Not many of us understand this. But actually, in India, 98 98.3% Indians pay income tax online. And the government public finance management system with which government releases money, everything is digital. Unless you don't get into the formal network, you will never become a part of the global supply chain. And therefore, many MSMEs have now got digitized. They've become a part of the formal network. And therefore, India has created 47 lakh new enterprises in 1 year time. Whereas in 70 years, we had created 71, 72 lakh enterprises. What India is doing is, we'll have a health stack, we have health digitization, we will have GST digitization, and you'll have a huge amount of data. And what in due course it'll do is that it'll lead to data analytics, it'll lead to financial inclusion. India will be using a lot of artificial intelligence. India will use a lot of blockchain technology to push people above the poverty line. My view is that physical banks will die, physical bank managers will die, and those who remain physical will have no future in India. So SMEs have to go digital. MSMEs have to go digital, much like banks are being forced to go digital. And if you go digital, tomorrow the future is all yours in an era of transformation. And therefore, leaders of tomorrow are those which set the direction, who are optimists, who do relentless preparation, and those who work with great teamwork. And to my mind, all this is really the crux of India. Many Indians, most Indian companies today believe that there is a vast domestic market, and therefore you need to produce for the domestic market. I've a long time been a believer that no country in the world can grow on the back of domestic market. No country post-World War II has grown on the back of domestic market. You look at Japan, you look at Korea, you look at China, all of them penetrated global markets. In India, we have too many small units. The small units remain small, the medium units remain medium, the medium and small units just don't grow to be large. And unless and until your ambition and hunger is not to grow big. I mean, if you don't grow big, you will never prosper. And therefore, it's very important that we help you, we handhold you to grow and penetrate global markets. And for that to happen, to be able to penetrate global markets, you must produce to global size and scale. That's important. And thirdly, you must produce to excellence. Much of the problems of MSMEs lie with the larger Indian enterprises. The larger Indian enterprises buy from MSMEs and don't pay them in time. The government doesn't pay them in time. And therefore, the ecosystem has been ruined by large companies. The ecosystem has been ruined by government. If MSMEs produce and supply, they must be paid in time. We need a very, very strict enforcement that within 90 days, all payments of MSMEs must be made. And unless that happens, it will be very difficult for MSMEs, because we then choke off your working capital, we choke off your funding. If you look around the world is about global supply chains. It's about global supply chains. You know, the products are designed somewhere, manufactured somewhere, innovated somewhere, and then they are assembled somewhere else. And therefore, India must get into the global supply chain. And that means that all MSMEs must be a part of the global supply chain. The sixth point I want to make is that there's no future for MSME without design and innovation. If you think you can only manufacture, just forget it. There is no future for you without design, without innovation. And therefore, the future belongs to those who innovate. And India is doing a lot of innovation. Let me tell you this, that if you go to Bangalore, if you go to Hyderabad, if you go to Pune, a lot of innovation for the rest of the world is happening from India. And I think it's very important that MSMEs must design, they must innovate for the future. Without design and innovation, it will be very difficult for India to grow at 9 to 10% over a long period of time. And therefore, my belief is that innovation, and much of that is happening in many of our startups. The great thing is that the startup ecosystem is really growing, it's expanding. We have close to about 19,000, 20,000 startups. Many of them are doing unique work, not merely in e-commerce. Many of them are doing unique work in education, in health, in social social sectors, they are doing phenomenal work, and many of them are doing innovation around the work that they are doing. So my belief is that the future of India truly lies in the hands of MSME. We need to create the right ecosystem. We can't have export, we can't have manufacturing, we can't have jobs, we can't grow to global size and excellence. It's not possible for India to grow at 9 to 10%, but this will require all of us to work hands in collaborative partnership with the MSMEs, take full advantage to innovate, to design, to produce to global size and scale, and to penetrate not merely the domestic market, but use it as a springboard to export and penetrate global markets.
Time for a break. We'll continue bringing you those key takeaways from the Leaders of Tomorrow Conclave and Awards 2018 on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're bringing you the highlights from the Leaders of Tomorrow Conclave and Awards 2018. Take a listen.
The theme for this session is also our umbrella theme for this year's Conclave and Awards, which is SME to Sensex. The idea is to map the path for an SME from being a small fish in the ocean to becoming a whale and listing on the stock exchange.
So first of all, in your own words, if you can share the experience of how the SME exchange and the entire mechanism of listing for SMEs has evolved in India in the last couple of years.
SMEs have been listing on BSE for very long, but somewhere around early 90s, a lot of companies came, collected money, and then never came back. Now they are known as vanishing companies. And so later on, BSE and then NSE also decided not to take small companies on its board. And then government kind of said that small companies also have legitimate needs. So you need to basically allow them to come and raise funds. And we said we have this issue because whenever an investor makes money, it's his brilliance and also the experts' advice. But when they lose money, they come back to exchange, which is what we don't want. Ultimately, small companies are having a risk which is higher than normal. And so they said, okay, we need to create a framework where if it's higher risk, we'll allow only larger investors to come in. So today, later on, around 2012, we came out with a new framework saying minimum 1 lakh rupee lot size. While as in a normal equities, you can buy even one share of, say, 50 paisa. While as in the SMEs, because they are supposed to be more risky, only large investors should come in. So that's what 1 lakh rupee lot size was created. And then market making was done because minimum 50 investors had to be there. In main board, when IPO happens, 1,000 investors are required minimum. In the SME, it's 50. And so we had to create a framework for market making, which came out to be very nice.
Now, Nilesh, my next question is for you. And you know, in the current context, when we already have a lot of volatility in markets, globally we see markets are jittery. In India, especially, there are a lot of jitters about currency and all. Now, in this perspective, this is the first litmus test that an SME exchange or an SME ecosystem will go through. You know, the listed SME universe is going to go through that rough patch now, where we'll see a lot of volatility in markets and valuations getting dropped or maybe jacked up. So are we prepared for that? Or is this ecosystem matured enough to handle a financial shock?
So one, when we talk about volatility in our market, let's first look at on a 3-year basis what has happened. Sensex is up 26% in US dollar terms. China is down 53% in US dollar terms. And I was watching some Chinese news channel. Their anchors are not at all commenting that their markets are in volatility. Now, coming to small and medium enterprises, it's a market where supposedly high net worth individual investors are participating. It's not a confluence of market where a retail investor or a foreign fund is participating, where one could see a drop of 40% in a stock just because someone had to sell in secondary market a paper at 11%, and thereafter at that yield, no transaction has happened. So we just hope and pray that investors in SME exchanges will behave more maturedly, and then the normal exchanges, then the volatility of normal exchange will not spread on SME. Inherently, SME exchanges will be far more riskier compared to a normal exchange. Volatility will be there in small and medium exchanges, but because SEBI rightfully has restricted participation at more matured level rather than retail level, hopefully volatility will be lower than, let's say, equivalent small cap stocks on main exchanges.
Kailash, throughout your career, you have been, you have handled various responsibilities. One of it also being to look at this space where you deal with small cap companies or even companies which are not listed. So, one part is the maturity of exchange, the entire ecosystem, and the investors. The second part is actually of the maturity of promoters themselves. That are they taking this platform seriously? Is there enough awareness?
Entrepreneurship or the innovation that is happening is not just happening in technology or financial services, which is just more associated with, but it is happening in engineering, it's happening in consumer goods, it's happening in various other sectors that we are seeing. So today, the number of people who want to come and possibly interact with a lot of mutual funds to showcase what they are doing in terms of their businesses, how they are planning to grow it, is increased manifold. So today, managing meetings with entrepreneurs is a bigger challenge because there are just so many of them in India today. There is a acceptance which is there today of looking at these people in a very different manner than what we were looking at it 5 years ago. Today, I think if you look at 100 people, there'll be 98 people who are genuine, and maybe 2 who are the kind who want to make a quick buck. A lot of these people are focusing on governance and compliance today, which was an area of weakness a few years back.
Rajesh, I want you to share a couple of experiences because as the theme suggests, we are talking about companies who are maybe today SMEs, but couple of years or decades down the line can think of being in Sensex. That is the benchmark that we are looking at. Have you come across any such examples, or is it too dreamy at this point? This thing?
See, that this is, if you see the past, whether it is a Kotak Bank, whether it is a Bajaj Finance, whether it is a AU Bank, they were all small cap companies 10 years, 15 years before. So in Indian economy is so vibrant that here, that all Sensex, all SME companies are going to become the Sensex companies only. Whichever is the asset-light model businesses, they have a potential to become the large cap. Wherever they have innovations, wherever they have a efficiency, those companies are potential to become the Sensex companies.
Our CMO panel on smart marketing will help empower entrepreneurs to revolutionize their marketing strategies.
Partha, your agency and you are known for having built some very iconic brands. Coca-Cola, Britannia, Saffola, Dettol, Paytm, but all of this possibly the conventional way. And I know by heart you have always been a custodian of brands and a planner. So according to you, what can marketing do for SMEs?
The moment you want to create something slightly more impactful, slightly more meaningful outside the operational efficiency, that's where marketing comes in. I think marketing, the definition of marketing is a combination of empathy and imagination. So you need to be absolutely empathetic towards people that you are serving. And of course, you've got to use your imagination to serve it better. Some people outsource both of them, especially large companies outsource both of them. They outsource empathy to research companies and kind of imagination to ad agencies. But I think both of these can be and should be done by people who are at the helm of the business.
So what do you think, Arun? What do you see the difference between brand building for these big brands and brand building for SMEs?
I believe that most SMEs or startup founders that I have worked with are amongst the most creative people actually in the country. Unfortunately, when it comes to the marketing of their own ideas, it kind of, the creativity takes a backseat. And I think somewhere it is also because it gets outsourced to people who don't feel as passionately about their their thought itself. And the biggest difference I have felt is between seasoned marketers and between startups and SMEs is the fact that seasoned marketers get a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. When you are a startup or when you're an SME, your pockets are not as filled as seasoned marketers.
How can analytics help SMEs give life to their dream, and how do you measure the results of your work?
You won't believe that SMEs contribute to 20% of our GDP. And in 2011, it was just around 17%. So it's growing at a huge, fast clip pace. I think that's the first thing. Second thing is, analytics is always seen as the boring end of marketing because, you kind of build brands, you build brand frameworks. And my belief is that data plus design plus creativity is the future. And that's really where I think SMEs can play a huge, huge role. And therefore, I'm saying smart marketing embedded with smart analytics is really the future. A reimagination of data is what SMEs need to look at, and that's the opportunity that they should really kind of pursue.
The world of digital is perceived as cheap, effective, and accountable. So what's your take? How can digital help SMEs deliver on their dreams?
I think the typical thing is most SMEs, the younger generation who joins the business, that guy can do digital. And as an SME, we are used to outsourcing everything, whether it's cycle styling, whether it's spiral binding, whether it's doing whatever. Unfortunately, marketing and digital marketing specifically can't be outsourced. We need to become digitally fit ourselves. And that's the challenge SMEs face. So if you go to US, every single SME is doing digital marketing on its own. Almost 50 to 60% of Google's and Facebook's revenues comes from the SME and the SMBs in US. That must be less than 20% in India.
Sam, you play a very invaluable role by giving media help to people when they need it the most. And you also have your neck in it, right? Because you have a stake and you are actually investing both physically and emotionally in that brand. You are taking as much of a call on the brand as much as the owner of the brand is. So any experiences you would like to share of how you have gone about bringing a win-win relationship for your clients?
We have one format where the company is already existing, the company is in a growth stage. We come in, we have detailed discussions just like a private equity fund or a venture fund would. With a company, we do deep diligence. Then we have another format where we have an idea, we find an entrepreneur. So we marry our idea with the entrepreneur, we own a larger piece of the equity in that situation, and we do the same thing. And we then, over a period of time, when the companies need capital, which they will inevitably need, we will introduce them to private equity funds, family offices, venture funds, what have you, and we help them get the capital as well. So we have a large team.
That's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, here's how you let us know. leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com is our email ID. On Twitter, tweet at me personally, it's Nanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.